Welcome to Listen.
Teacher Chatter.
This is Krista.
And Jill.
Woohoo.
Ooh, people are confused right now.
And they should be.
Okay, Robin is not gone forever. Those people that are thinking they're going to boycott because Robin's their favorite host.
Yeah, I'm not that cool.
No, you're very cool. Okay, so don't get me wrong. And I am super excited that I'm not doing this week's episode by myself. But Robin is out of town. She had a family member pass away, and so we're definitely thinking about her family and all that. But we also said Krista.
Yeah, Jill texted me last minute and was like, "Can you be on the podcast?" I was like, "I guess I have no options, so I'm in."
I like that she acts like there's no options. She really knows that you could. She's you know. Social media is not only her game, all right?
Yeah.
She's now, you can officially say that you've hosted a podcast.
That's
right?
True. I can.
You can just
bucket list done.
Add
Check
that
mark.
to the resume the next time.
Yeah, I can. Yeah. Add it to my resume.
All right.
Co-hosted a podcast.
See? Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, we always start with our highs and lows. And Robin loves it when I go first, but since she's not here, I am going to just swing it your direction. So, highs and lows for the week. Kind of prepared for that?
I actually had not.
Oh, jeez, wow.
Of all the things to not think about, my high and low. That's the first part. That's the first thing.
So you want me to go?
Yes, I do.
Feels like this always happens. Okay, well, my low is going to be that, guys, we have been map testing for an entire week, and I think this was the longest. It was the longest week of my life.
Yeah, today alone, longest day of my life. And I felt like that every single day this week.
I would wake up in the morning, not know what day it was, but know I was not ready for it.
It's not going to be over yet. Tomorrow, you'll feel ready for tomorrow.
I was ready for tomorrow 5 days ago.
So
true. Yeah, I know it's a thing. And I've been super proud of my students. Mm-hmm. They have worked so hard, and I'm a motivational person. Like, I used to coach, I was in sports, and so I'm all about trying to pump them up with this stuff. And I was telling one of my groups, I said, guys, listen, you are going to experience challenges in life.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's physical challenges, sometimes it's mental. This was a mental challenge, but you have done so well. And if you can get through this, it'll be a piece of cake.
What's ironic is that the challenge is even more being quiet, after, the actual test. Yes, that's hard, but being quiet.
Yeah,
that's so hard.
And being the kid that's taking their time, and going, this is important. Mm-hmm. I want to take my time. I'm not going to
rush just because everyone else is done.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was definitely the low. I mean, I'm excited. I think they're going to do well, but so then I'm going to go with the high for the week. I don't even know. There's so many things I could say, but I decided to go with this one because it happened most recent and I thought it was funny. So, you know those, there's smelly markers and then there's stinky markers.
Oh, yes.
Right? Uh-huh. So, I have stinky markers.
Yeah, you do.
And why? Because they're stinky and that's funny. And
you're extra.
Yeah, I'm extra. Which reminds me of slang, which makes me feel like we need to talk about that
I
at
think
some
so
point.
Too.
That might be
Maybe that's my high.
Or higher.
That's my high for sure.
Okay, we'll go back to that. So I decided that I was going to do a challenge, and I had some of my nastiest ones.
Ooh.
And I colored in these circles, and I put it on my board, and I've been having my students try to guess the smell.
That's so gross. It's like Bean Boozled, but for your nose.
It truly is, and it has been one of the best things, because you've got kids that are go up there, they smell, and I didn't tell them.
Is this post-map testing? So hey, it's been a rough day of testing. Go up and smell my board.
Yes, that's what it is. Guess, and maybe you'll get a piece of candy, you get it right. And they're like, what did we win? I'm like, I don't know yet. It depends on how many of you get it right. But they're going up there and they do a little sniff, and then you see these gagging faces.
You need to put up a camera, just a little secret camera, so you catch them doing it.
They're like, why would you buy these? I'm like, because it's funny, and because of the face you just made. Yeah. When else will that happen?
Gold, totally worth the $12 the markers cost.
No, they weren't even that. They were on sale. I like a good clearance. So I recommend for anybody, if you need entertainment, and I told the kids, I said, here's the thing. One of the reasons I got into teaching was because I can torture you in weird ways.
Oh, yeah.
This is a weird
for free.
Way. Yeah. Who else gets to
totally
experience
acceptable.
that? Who gets to experience children going up to a board gagging because of a smell that they chose to smell?
Yes.
It's a win-win. So
I love it.
I feel really good about that. And I challenge anybody else to go ahead and do that in their own classroom.
That's a great high. All right. So I'll piggyback off of your low, like for sure, map testing. Whoa, it's just long days. So long days, and it's exhausting, and I feel bad for the kids the whole time. And then my poor feet. I told my husband, I have a standing desk. Like I never sit down. But for some reason during map testing, my feet hurt worse. I don't know. It just the way I'm walking around. Well, and I wore a poor choice in shoes the other day, and I ended up taking them off. So I'm walking around my classroom barefoot.
Oh, well, that's a good idea.
Yeah. Very cool. I was like, oh, these floors have not been cleaned recently. That's disgusting. And then my high was definitely actually listening to the slang episode. I was laughing so hard, y'all. Like,
so you're a true millennial, right? Like,
and those aren't even my slang terms.
I know. You heard them.
But listening to you put them into sentences, I was like, no, that's not actually how it's used. I was dying. Like in my bathroom trying to put my mascara on, and it ended up all over my face. I had to wipe it off a couple times.
Really?
Try again.
The cringe factor of it was a real thing. And we felt it, Robin and I, but we went with it and we're like, I don't even know.
I felt the cringe the whole time. Yeah. I was like, this is so uncomfortable, but this is so funny. And I mean, I use the slang terms and purposely wrong sometimes.
Hey, what was the one that what is the one that starts in F? Finna? No, what is
Finna.
It?
Finna. Yeah.
Use it correctly.
So it's like I'm going to. So you can replace any time that you're going to say, I'm going to do this. So
it doesn't come naturally.
I'm finna host a podcast with Jill. See, still sounds cringy, but used appropriately.
I mean, you can only do so much. My students started doing some more slang this week that I don't know, and then I feel awkward.
The slay. That's the current slay.
It's gross. My 7th grader Race informed me that nobody in the world uses 0.5 year drip. And
false.
I told him, I said, honey, I'm just trying to make you more cool because all the kids at the high school use it. How do I know? Because a high school teacher told me that one.
Do you remember that story you tell about you walking through the junior high track meet in your pajamas?
Yeah.
And the kids, that's all what they were actually saying. They were like, can I put your drip?
Yeah,
that's what it actually was. They weren't making fun of you at all. They wanted to 0.5 your drip, and you just didn't understand because you hadn't learned your slang terms yet.
I so forgot about that.
That's one of my favorite stories of you.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, it's not at the junior high level now, apparently, but I told him to work on it, and it could happen.
Just start it, Race. You can be the first one. Congratulations,
and
you're
thank
in
you,
on it.
Geisha Feevold. She's the one that gave me that 0.5 year drip. So if anything's wrong with it, it's on Geisha.
No.
So.
I think middle school and junior high are always about 2 years behind the trend, which means that I'm actually 4 years behind the trend, and I don't know where you land on that.
I know. I was gonna say, man, if you're 4 years, I'm like. Oh man, like a decade?
Yeah, probably.
I'm not that old.
No, you're just not connected yet. In a couple years, you'll be the 2 years behind because your kid will say it, and it'll take you a couple years to get it.
Stop it now. Gosh.
That's good.
All right. Well, it's good times.
Yeah,
good way to start it off. All right. Well, we are nearing the end of the school year.
Yeah.
Which is super exciting.
Yeah, crazy.
But we also recognize that there are challenges and transitions that come with this. And what a great time for you to come on, with that, because so that's what we're talking about today. We're just going to talk about those end of the year challenges, transitions, all the things. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to start by first of all, I don't know if we recognize. I know
probably not. I don't think
Krista is going to have a new job title.
Yeah,
a new job. I mean, it's not just a title.
Yeah, it is a whole new job.
So tell them what's going on in your life with this.
Okay, so I am transitioning into being an instructional coach. So I'll be 5th and 6th ELA and 6th grade social studies. So it kind of just sprung on me. It wasn't something that I was pursuing until it became available. And so it just a big transition, but basically leaving the classroom, and then I'll be working with teachers a lot more. Still working with students, but more for the sake of the teachers than for the sake of the students. So it's just a really crazy, weird transition.
And I know we've talked about, so it's this idea, in everybody's career, at some point, you start thinking about, are you going to leave the classroom, right? And some people never do. That's great.
Yeah.
Some people do early. Some people do and then go back. I mean, there's there's a lot of things that can happen with it, but it's a big decision to try to figure out, what are you going to do?
It
right?
is. Well, and I didn't anticipate it being so early in my career.
Because you've taught for...
I've taught 8 years.
Yeah.
So I think I'm on 8. Oh gosh. I probably shouldn't act. Maybe I
a
actually need to
little too
count.
early not to know.
I know. It's so sad. No, but I was like, I'm not even halfway towards retirement yet.
Yeah.
So why would I start counting? Like,
yeah, it's also true.
No. So yeah, I'm just young in my career. I didn't think I would be leaving the classroom so soon. I did always kind of picture myself in maybe an instructional coach role or something like that. But definitely not like now.
Yeah.
And then the position became available, and all of the people that I talked to were really like, yeah, Krista, like, I think this is for you. And I prayed about it a lot and really felt God be like, this is your time to go into this role. I prepared you for the challenges that are ahead. And I really do think that God has created in me, as tacky as that sounds, just the ability to do this job and do it well. So I'm excited about it. For me personally, and we've talked about this, so you know me.
The listeners have not heard all of our conversations.
The listeners haven't heard everything, all the nitty gritty, but I have felt really weird about leaving the classroom.
Yes.
Like, hesitant about it and thinking, is that even what I want to do? Because I still really love what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like, I do. I love it. And that makes me really sad. And I've been dealing with those feelings more since I said yes officially, and it has been official. I've been processing those emotions. But, and all the teachers that know me know that that's like, I'm going into this position because it's a good fit, not because I want to leave the classroom.
You're tired of the kids and all those
However, I ran into somebody who doesn't know me, like, very well, like we're acquaintances, and I was telling them about the transition, and she was like, oh, you're probably so glad to get out of the classroom. Like, I heard these kids are crazy. And I was immediately offended, like immediately upset that someone would think that of me. And we know the classroom is a tough place to be and that our jobs are crazy hard. That all is true. However, I love what I do.
Right.
And I love what I do for kids.
Yes.
And next year I'm going to love what I do for teachers because of what it does for kids.
Right. I think for you, one of the things is going to be, it's like, we know when we're in the classroom and we can see the progress from our students, right? And we see that, and that is something that drives us.
Yeah.
You're going to be in a different situation. It's going to be a new thing driving you. It's going to be those new teachers or those people that are doing something for the first time, and you see teachers having success.
Yes.
Which means their kids are having success.
Absolutely.
It's just going to be in a different thing to process and a different feeling.
No, I completely agree. And that's what I'm excited for. And there's a lot of things I'm really excited for. Like, I'm kind of nerding out a little bit, and I'm trying not to like rush my principal, but I'm like, I have a million ideas. I'll keep them to myself. You come to me when you're ready. Like, I have thoughts. I have plenty of thoughts. So
I think that's also things that are contagious, right?
Oh yeah.
So you want somebody in positions, whether it's a principal position, a lit coach position, a counseling position, or if it's something that isn't directly with the kids all the time, you want somebody to be excited about their job, coming up with ideas, make the teaching life easier in whatever way, or helping us do the things that are most beneficial. I mean, all those things.
We were talking earlier about like, hey, I'm going to come up to you and say, hey, this is what we should do. And I know that there's problems, but I'm a problem solver. And here are 6 ways we can solve this problem. Like, I'm totally going to be that person. I currently already am.
Right.
Like, I don't know. I do think I'm excited for this change.
Yeah.
It is interesting. We've even talked in PACE about, like, how I feel wrapping it up with potentially my last group of students. I could get back into the classroom anytime, and I'm not saying I'm never going to be in the classroom, but it could be. Like, this could be the last year I have my own kids. And processing through that has been really weird. And I've cried a couple times. Just thinking, and I even had a conversation with another coworker on my team this week where I was like, I just want this year, I always want to end the year and it be a positive time for my students. But this year more than ever, I'm like, I need to leave a legacy. Like, they need to remember this is the best year ever. And that's unrealistic. And I can't put that on people. I know.
I was going to try to find a way to bring that in. Like, Krista, it's a great idea. And I don't want to ruin you.
No, but I do feel that. Like, I feel it regardless of if it's right or true. I feel it. So,
well, and I think, again, you're going to a new position, but we have listeners and plenty of people that are going into retirement. Right? This is the last year that I'm teaching. And sometimes you get, I think after 30 years, you probably might be ready to go. Right? But you also know that you've put in a ton of time into a particular school or district or whatever position, whatever it may be, it's a hard thing to let go.
Absolutely.
Thinking about the next chapter of your life. I mean, and that's what's happening for you right now, right? And like I said, I'm sure a ton of people have those things going on. Even for me, when I mean, I've only always taught the same thing, but
switching buildings
was a thing. Like I had a team of people whenever it was a 5-6 building at that time, but we had taught together for 8 years and I loved them. They were my second family. Like we had been through so much. They had seen me pregnant with all 3 of my boys,
which that's a sight. Experience.
It wasn't
lots of bathroom breaks.
Bless Chad Ferguson and Laura Tacky, because they had to have lots of bathroom breaks for me and Christine Pruitt, because we were pregnant at the same time.
Oh gosh, 2 pregnant people on the same team.
For real.
Poor choices. That should have changed.
You know what? There's a lot of things that I could say right now and probably shouldn't. But let me just say this much. Chris Bauman said something at the time. He was our principal, to our superintendent, about having 6 teachers pregnant in the building.
Oh, wow.
But he worded it not in a great way. And the superintendent at the time was like, you may want to think about how you say that in the future.
That's good.
I'll tell you that story later on. But it was a huge transition for me to think about, working with people I had never worked at, being in a building that I didn't know what that was going to be like. And what I tell people too is, like, at least be willing to try some of these things. You don't know how it's going to work out. I ended up going to the other building, loving the people I worked with. I was in the same building with my own personal children. Yes. Shout out to Ozark North 5th grade teachers and all of them in that building. Yes, absolutely. But it was I mean, it was a perfectly timed thing to do for the 6 years, and I have been thrilled about going back into a 5-6 building. So even though things can be scary and a transition and not knowing what it's going to be like, knowing that it's just, this chapter has ended, but something great can be in store.
Even switching grade levels, like, was really weird when I stayed in the same building. So moving from 4th to 3rd and then 3rd up to 5th, I felt like I was betraying my family, because I loved my teams. Like, I loved them. And I was like, I'm just going to go hang out with another team for a little bit. Right. And I would run into them in the hallways and I would be like, I still love you. Like, miss you. And I did. But I love my current team and I love my last team. Like, I loved all of it. They're just different. I know. That's what I'm like. It's just, now it's just connections, people that I know.
Yeah, I know.
But really, no, it felt super weird.
The word betrayal was a thing. Yes. And then, so when you see the old team or old people that you were part of, it is like, how do I handle? I remember going on a field trip after
oh my gosh,
our groups got dispersed. I was the only one in my building. One person was at another building, and then 2 were another, and we all came together, and then we were like, can we sit next to each other?
Like, no.
Because my new team will hate me.
Right? No, transitions everywhere. Well, and the hard part is that there's always going to be somebody that's not happy, right? So, like, we get new principals and assistant principals and stuff, and you always hope for one thing, but everybody's hoping for one thing.
Yeah.
So, like, somebody's not doing what they want.
Yes.
I don't know. So I think as people who are watching the transition, we have to be like, give some grace for time too. I even was talking with another person on our team, and I was like, all right, I have like big plans that are like 5 years down the road, plans that you're ready for and you want, but we're not there.
Yeah.
So we're going to chill, and I'm going to get my feet wet, and I'm going to like slowly ease in. Yeah. And then eventually maybe we'll be there, but we're not there yet. So,
well, and I think when you're talking about with positions and stuff too, I think a lot of people, are going to have new administrators next year. I mean, not just in like our district.
Our district alone, though, is like
crazy amount.
Feels like a brand new set of admin.
It truly is.
Like almost entirely.
But districts
we're all okay, I promise.
Districts around the world are the same way, where there's just and that's scary. Thinking about what leadership things are going to take place. I remember going through one, which he wasn't a doctor at the time, but Chris Bauman was my principal. He was my first principal I had. Loved all the things that he did. Great job. I mean, he knew he had great taste because he hired me. So starting there, he
that's when he looks back at his list of all the things that he's done right in his career. Hiring Jill Weedle's at the top.
I mean, I don't want to say that he said that, but I'm pretty sure.
Is it?
I feel
it might actually have been recorded. You might actually have it.
But he had been my principal, and I loved having him as a principal.
Yes.
And then we get somebody new, and I was like, I don't know what's going on. You know, what's this gonna be like? And I think you're right on the idea of when you go into these leadership positions, you do need to just like get your feet wet.
Yeah.
At the beginning.
Chill
and try to figure. You might have big ideas, but probably don't throw it in everybody's face immediately. And kind of fill people out. Like where are they? Because some people are very flexible and good to go with stuff, and some people are not.
Absolutely.
I mean, they may think they are.
But they're not.
But some people are not.
Yes. Well, and even the culture of the building completely changes when you change admin. Like, I am a firm believer in admin set the tone. And there are people working there, and you can't control other people, and everybody has their own thought. Yes. But admin does set a big tone. And so, like, coming in, figuring out where everybody already is, finding your place within that, and then going from there. And like other people recognizing that's going to take a minute too. Like, I'm not going to expect you to come in first year on the job as a new admin and be, you know, the best admin I've ever had. You might be, but you also might just need some time. And I think that's okay. But it's hard for us. Like we had great admin. And I'm currently very happy. So not speaking from personal experience.
I have loved every principal I have ever had. They've all been the best I've ever.
But it's hard, and I have to turn my like inner judgmental person off. I'm like, oh, shut her down. She's wrong. She just needs to take it easy.
Okay, what about people joining new teams? Teams that have been established, whether it's even because even if you've been together only a year.
Oh, it's plenty of time because your whole life was that year.
Yes.
Right.
And so, what do you say to those people like joining a new group of individuals? Like, what would be
probably the same kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Find your place slowly. Don't just like come in and take over. I think you gotta. So speaking from personal experience,
I think the first thing that you should probably do when you go and join a new team is ask people for their strengths and weaknesses.
It's like the third time this has been on the podcast. Not a good idea. And I learned it when Jill tells you that was a little bit much. You know, you went way overboard. No, I am notorious for asking people their strengths and weaknesses. I do think there's a place for it. Jill was trying to set me loose on our new assistant principal. She was like, go ask him. I was like, I will. If he's open, I'll just scooch my way right up there. Right. I think it's funny. So when I was transitioning from third to fifth, the person I was most nervous to work with was you.
Yeah.
I just thought we had similar personalities, and we're very, very different people. But I think we're like both energetic, and we like to do new things and try different things. And I was like, we're going to clash. Like, I'm going to join this team, and we're going to clash hard. So and we've had a couple moments, but we always get over them because I think we also are both like, whatever. Yeah. We'll move on and pick your battles that you're going to stand up against, you know. And I haven't had anything that I was like,
I've still got one written down.
Not the time, Jill. Save it for later. No, well, I love it though, but I was so nervous. And then I got on the team, and I think I know what ideas I have that are valuable and when I should share them. But most of that first year working with you and Kara was me like listening and trying to figure out what you guys were already doing. Yeah. That and giving the wrong assessment. But I eventually figured that out too. The way that Jill, I would like to say this actually, this goes back to a couple episodes ago. You were talking about you said something, I can't remember. Organizing your Google Drive. Yeah. And I was like, oh, no. Jill does have an organizational system that is very different from mine. And I can never find the right thing. So it's always giving the wrong one. I'm going to blame you, but it really was my fault the whole time.
Very clear to me where the formatives are. I don't know.
And how they are labeled. They all start with original in all caps. I think it's great. I don't think it's bad. Oh, I do. I know exactly why.
So what you people don't realize that have always had Google Docs around was when they first started, people were totally confused and thought they were like Word documents. So people just get on there and start typing away, and you're like, stop! That's the one we're
currently working on it. Get off my document.
Make a copy, and they'd be like, I want to make a copy, and it was very frustrating. And Nicole Watkins, who is an admin at the high school now, was our tech person, and she would lay down the law, and she's like, if it says original, you don't type on it, because that is the good. And so I've always done that because
I think it makes sense. I think it's great.
I still do it.
On that template, when I go to look for it, I'm like, all right, you have yours in the line order. I like mine blocky.
I hate the blocks.
Well, but if I have it blocky, I can't read all the things that you've written because mine doesn't go the same direction. Oh, it's just a whole thing. I could stand on that soapbox for a while, Jill.
Jill. Walk away. But that's why
one of my strengths is organization. Yeah. It's so subjective.
Yes, it truly is. You did. I mean, you joined our team, and I think one of the things you said was being nervous about having somebody a like personality. I used to think that would be awesome, having a person like me on the team.
Did I prove you wrong?
It wasn't even you. It was a girl many years before you actually came in, and someone was like, "She is so much like you," and then she was just a younger version, and I was still young at the time, but she was even younger.
You're like,
and I was
that's
like,
my spot.
Well, no, I was more like, she's a lot to handle. That's what I thought. I was like, oh my gosh, I hope that's not. And honestly, I actually really liked her, but I was like, no, I don't need like there's enough. No.
Yeah, no, I completely get that.
It's a balance.
And I think you have to think that too. I think admin have to think about that as they're hiring people too. Yes. Like, it might be an awesome teacher, but if it's not the right fit for the team, that's the wrong person.
Yeah.
And that's really hard because you might be letting someone go someplace else, but you have to think about everybody. Like, you got to think, well, in our particular building, because we have a department team and we have their like homeroom team. Oh, what do you call the other part? Your team, and then your department team. That. So because you have to think of both groups. Yeah. Like, that's a lot.
I think there is like a little bit of a give and take.
Oh, absolutely. No, I think just in general, I think a good thing to keep in mind is that it's going to be different every year. Like, if we've learned everything, I know every year you're like, oh, something will be the same. I get to use the same plan. False. Everything's going to change every single year. And the quicker you come to terms with that, the easier your life will be.
Yeah.
There will be things that stay the same, and you certainly get better at adjusting to the changes. And like, I don't take nearly as long to plan now as I did my first year teaching. And that should be the case. And if that's not the case, like, you got to give yourself some grace and some time, or like space away, like breathe a little bit.
Yeah. And I think just as you're transitioning, you're just remembering that like there's a season for everything.
Yeah.
And seasons do change, and that's okay. Like, try to find the positive, because sometimes people have to change and they don't get the option.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like, where you are needed, you will be.
Yeah.
And maybe it's only for the year, and maybe you're miserable that year. Yeah. I don't know. But you learn a lot.
A reason for it. Yeah. Like, I think all of those things are true.
Yeah. I mean, I've been fortunate because I've never worked with anybody like I've despised or anything. And so I'm like going to knock on wood that doesn't happen anytime soon. But I've just been like scooting along the last 15 years.
It does make a huge difference who you work with and how you get along together. And if it's not the right team,
there will be openings next year.
Yes.
Oh, so true.
No, I think the thing I'm most nervous about next year is that I'm going from a position where I had a solid team.
Yeah.
Like, for my whole career, right? Have had a solid team, to a position that is more on my own. Like, when we look at it, I am an elementary-ish lit coach, but I'm not, because I'm 5th, 6th, which is different from K4. I am an upper levels coach, but I'm not, because I'm 5th, 6th, not 7th, 12th, which even those, I feel that's a crazy age range. Yeah. I am one of 3 coaches in my building, but the only one who will be doing what I'm doing. So I'm going to be a lot more alone.
Are you just trying to point out how unique you are?
I am. Unique. I just wanted people to be like, oh, she's so original. Yeah. Man, that's not my favorite word.
All right. Well, some reminders. We, as Krista's getting together the challenge, reminders. We are on Facebook. We are on Instagram, TikTok. We have YouTube. If you're wanting to see our face, Krista really made herself look nice today.
I did. I curled my hair and everything.
She did too. I saw her this morning. I was like, oh man, girl. And I was like, you'll see a clear difference between Krista and myself today.
Whatever, please don't watch. No, too. Yeah. Like, follow, subscribe, all those things.
Like, all of it. One of my students told me this last week. He's like, found your YouTube channel. I heard you talking about a tick on your forehead, and I was done.
You're like, seriously, though.
That's what he said. He goes, I stopped listening at that point.
How many followers are we losing?
Yeah, I don't know. You know what? If you can't handle the tick on the forehead, people are now like, what?
Yeah,
so,
go back.
It's great, guys. Lots of good stories. So definitely appreciate Krista being willing to come on. And she's got her stuff today.
Yeah, so I texted Jill last night because I was just sitting and thinking and praying about this podcast and just everything going on, and felt this verses come to mind. And this is in Hebrews 12, 1-3, and it actually comes right after Hebrews 11, which is all about these great people of faith throughout the Bible and lists all of them and the amazing things that they did through their faith in Jesus. So you know the context. And then it says, Hebrews 12, 1-3, therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles. And let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith. For the joy set before him, he endured the cross. For the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider him who endured such opposition from sinners, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart. And I was thinking about us talking about the end of the year, and Jill gave this great analogy last week at our PACE meeting about the race that we've been running, and it's a marathon, not a sprint. And that's so true. Teaching the entire year is this long marathon. And I was reflecting on my own racing times, and I would run with my dad, and my dad and I just got to know each other so much better as adults because it's the first thing I've kind of had with him. And we have run this race, but we've run with kids. Like, they've been our partners in this marathon. And so we need to make sure that our eyes are fixed on Jesus and we remember our reason for being here and the impact that we have. But also, this is our last chance to shine that light and show them where that joy comes from. So that really hit me. And it kind of actually goes along with what I'm going to challenge everybody to today.
And I love, just talking about each parts of those, because and by the way, she's mentioned PACE a couple of times.
Oh, yeah.
People may not know what that is. So PACE is an organization, and really it's just something that I don't even know that we would follow the organization. We don't.
No, I don't think
so.
But
it's basically a time that we've set aside before our contracted time at school. We, a group of other believers, come together and we do a little devotional and just kind of do prayer requests and things like that. And so I've had that in every building that I've ever been in.
Yeah, it's a blessing.
But I definitely, if that's something that you're like, you would be amazed.
Yeah, the people who come, how many people come.
Yeah, and then
it's
just
incredible.
And it gives you another group that you can go to and just say, like, I need prayer for this or whatever. And so maybe that's something that somebody needed to hear, like something you could start in your own building or get a group of you together. So anyway, but that's worth there.
No, I love that. So the challenge that I have is to share with your students or your kids, if you're not an educator, the things that you have learned this year. So reflect on what you have learned. It can be things about them, but the most powerful things are what you learned from them. So I put some examples of things I learned. So Mason taught me to giggle at small things. Sarah taught me to celebrate little things. Abby taught me to ask questions and seek to understand fully before I jump, which is not something I do well. I'm a jumper. So we learn about the people that we're running with, and I think it's really powerful for them to see, yes, I learned a lot of stuff from Mrs. Gore, and I hope they did. But I learned things from my time with them too. And it doesn't have to be so specific as you sharing each kid and what you learned from them, but sharing with your students, hey, this year was my first year in this building. Here's a lot of the things that I learned this year. What are some things you learned? Yeah. I think that reflection is a good practice for everyone.
I love that. Well, and when you're thinking about end of the year activities with your kids, like those are things that they're going to remember, take away. And I love that. So sweet. Wow. Thank you, Krista.
I'm going to give that one to God because I was just sitting there at 9:30 last night texting Jill, can I do the scripture tomorrow?
Yep, you got a challenge.
Done.
Well, thank you for joining me and helping host. That was so much fun. And just, I love your perspective of things. And I think it'll be helpful for others to also know that they're not alone in some different transitioning times for them. So, all right. Well.
Do I say it again?
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to Listen.
Teacher Chatter.
This has been Krista.
And Jill. And we will see you.